want a second look.
Yeah, there's something about this one, isn't there? Familiar somehow.
We think we're stuck in a specific fragment in time, and we've been repeating that same fragment over and over again.
But the flirting's over, Sherlock. Daddy's had enough now.
Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, TV reviews with connections in mind. Jessica Jones Season 3 has dropped on Netflix, and unfairly or fairly, this is now being labeled as the cap, the end of the finale of the Netflix Marvel saga that began in 2015 with the first season of Daredevil. And this season focuses on Jessica Jones dealing with the loss of her mother and the new parameters of her relationship with her adoptive sister Trish, as well as she's now discovered a new serial killer roaming the streets of New York and taking more victims, and it's up to her to stop this person and eventually face an even greater threat from someone she cares about very much. Now, this review will contain spoilers of Jessica Jones Season 3, and unlike other reviews where I try to do a spoiler-free analysis review of this of something before I get into my spoiler-filled analysis, I really find that there really is no good way to talk about this season without going into spoilers. So this is your full-on warning that there will be spoilers from here on in about Jessica Jones Season 3, as well as certain other things. I'll put a list in the description below. If you haven't seen Jessica Jones Season 3 yet, please give it a watch and come back when you have. With this in mind, let's get into some talk about Jessica Jones Season 3. Is it worth it? Is it worth your time? And is it a fitting end to the Netflix Marvel saga? I would say as the Netflix Marvel series have definitely had ups and downs with the seasons. For example, I admit that while I didn't hate Iron Fist Season 1, I agree that is definitely the worst of these seasons, whereas I thought that Jessica Jones Season 1 is probably one of the best of the seasons, probably on par with, I also thought that Season 2 of Daredevil was probably even just a little bit above it. And this one ranks probably around the upper level of the middle tier of the seasons. This is definitely a solid season. The fact that this season focuses on both a personal threat from without, namely the serial killer Salinger. That villain, it's interesting that Jessica Jones is focusing on a non-superpowered enemy and someone who seems to be able to go toe-to-toe with her on an intellectual level. That's an interesting villain to go against. And of course, the meat of this season focuses on Jessica Jones' relationship with her adoptive sister Trish and her transformation into the vigilante Hellcat, and her essentially turn to the dark side, as it were. That she starts out on the side of good with good intentions, trying to be the hero that she feels that Jessica can't be or won't be. And when she decides that the villains, that the bad people that she's going after, justice seems to be blurring a line there between just sending them to jail and letting the NYPD handle it, and just straight up killing people because she believes that is what is right, and that she is the only one capable of stopping them, and she has essentially become the moral compass that the city will thank her for being. And this, as we see throughout the season, this is a dangerous mindset to have, and Jessica is forced to into the position of having to stop her own sister, essentially her only family left, now that her biological mother has been killed by Trish. So she already gets on the way of forgiving her for that, but then then she has to go back on her, into her in trying to stop Trish. But also her adoptive mother ends up being murdered in this season. So there's the great conflict with Jessica Jones having to face off against her only family that she has left in this world. And then how she deals with that and how she feels like coping with that, having to step up to the role of being a hero when she says that, as she constantly says throughout this season, being a hero is a shitty job. So that's where the great strength of this season lies. If there are going to be any weaknesses on this season, I would say that the weaknesses are the same weaknesses that most of the Netflix Marvel seasons have, whereas there's not 13 episodes. It doesn't seem like a lot, but again, this season shows that it still struggles to fill all those 13 episodes with enough momentum and enough story to keep it going for a full 13 episodes and keep us invested in it. I'd say right around episode 8 or 9 that I felt like I had to check the episode count on Netflix, and it's like, oh geez, I still have 3 or 4 or 5 more episodes to go, and it just felt like it. That same dip right around that point. It's right around that same point in most of the Marvel series, and even the episode where the seemingly obligatory flashback episode that we have in all of the Marvel Netflix seasons. This one focusing on Trish and her growing up with an abusive, domineering mother. Thankfully that they do a better job of this, blending it in with her the in present day and then the flashback sequences. But even then, the flashback sequences, they don't really give us a whole lot more than we didn't already know about her relationship, as she had already told us going into that episode. And the only thing that we saw connected with that flashback is the origin of her catchphrase, I guess, of "I got this." It's not the worst flashback episode, but it didn't really add a whole lot. So those are the main weaknesses, I would have to say. So those are the main points of things I would have to say about this. Also, if we're getting into things that seem familiar and where you may have seen them before, Eric's power of coming in and being able to sense evil within people. There's already a similar superhero power with that. Similar power in Caliban from Logan, and although he's able to sense mutants nearby, there's also, you can say that Eric's power is reminiscent of David Dunn's power from Unbreakable, where he's able to sense something bad's about to happen by being in close proximity or touching them, and he's able to he's motivated to stop them based on that. So there's similarity to go there. And also, you could also say Trish's journey from hero to the dark side, and then realizing what that moment of "what have I done" sort of thing. Again, that's a fairly common trope throughout many stories, where you have a sympathetic villain and then they have a slight turn of that, again, that "what have I done" moment. You could say that this is essentially the character living out the line from the Dark Knight of "you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain." You could also say that there's certain similarities between the early part of Anakin Skywalker's arc in specifically Revenge of the Sith, when he feels like he has the right reasons for doing things, and then he does something extremely evil, and then he goes, "What have I done?" before slipping all the way into it. Similarly, you could also point to Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2, where he has similarly theoretically pure motives for doing what he does, and then he has a brief "what have I done" moment, and then before redeeming himself in the end, that moment of realization. So again, this is a fairly common trope. Those are just a couple of examples. So those are my main thoughts on Jessica Jones season 3. But the main thing that I would have to point to is this a fitting end to the Netflix Marvel saga? I would say that while that label might be a tad unfair, because when they were Jessica Jones they were canceling all the Netflix Marvel series while this season was being filmed, and no one really knew that this was going to be the last one until most of the way through production. So you can't really judge it based on that, but the fact that it essentially serves as that, that makes me have to judge it in a certain light. And looking at it in that veil, I would have to say that while this is definitely a solid season, I just feel like it just kind of ends the whole Netflix Marvel saga on a bit of not a soft note, but more of like a mediocre note overall. I mean, the ending loses all of its potential because it teases something that was obviously going to be for a 4th season that we'll never get to see. So that loses all of its impact, and that just kind of makes no sense in the grand scheme of things. So overall, I would have to say this is definitely a solid season. As I said, definitely worth a watch. I would say this is probably better than Jessica Jones season 2 for sure. But overall, I would say in the grand pantheon of the Netflix Marvel saga, this is probably, as I said, the upper level of the middle tier. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on Jessica Jones season 3. What did you think of the season? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Any of my analysis strike you as off or anything? Did I miss anything? I may have missed something. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next movie review, which will be for Toy Story 4, which will be coming out in a few days here. And also for my next TV review, which will be for Stranger Things Season 3, which is coming out on the 4th of July. I'll be posting my review for that. Look for that. And if you like what you see here or anywhere else on my channel, please give me a like, share, and subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. It helped me out so much. Again, thank you so much for watching, but just remember, there is nothing new under the sun, and yes, you have seen it before.